Welcome back to Talking Story. My name is John Minton, and today I've got a review of Down Below Beyond by T.A. Bruno. Mr. Bruno was nice enough to send me a copy of his book, his newest book, in exchange for a review, and that is exactly what he's going to get. This was such an amazing throwback for me for a couple reasons. This had like such a light-hearted galaxy hopping romp, the kind of story that when I was a younger person, it didn't have to be a part of a franchise. You could just have that kind of one-off sci-fi story at the movies, like The Last Starfighter or Enemy Mine or something like that. And there were just like amazing flights of fancy that you could just buy your ticket, go in, sit down, get some popcorn, have an amazing ride. This absolutely had that kind of feel. And it also kind of threw me back because it reminds me of like some of the Asimov Heinlein length of a book that you could somehow do some mind-bending, galaxy-hopping adventure in that amount of pages instead of like some of the chonkers that we've gotten used to today. So this was a throwback in so many different ways, but we're going to get into the entire overview of this book. And my reviews run on a classic 5-star system. I'm going to look at 5 different categories: world building, plot, characters, prose, and pace. And actually probably pace first and then prose. We're going to give anything from a full star to a quarter star. At the end, I'm going to try and get that gerbil to run as fast as I can upstairs to try and do some math for you. And we're going to add it all together, and that's going to come up with how I felt about the book. So let's go ahead and start off with world building. The world building in this I thought was just amazing. And the other thing that I do want to start right off about saying is T.A. Bruno is a fine artist. He works as a pre-visualization artist for DreamWorks, I believe. And all throughout this book is some amazing character artwork and otherwise. So I wanted to open this up and say that because world building, it's an entire galaxy of worlds that is built on an advanced civilization's technology that has been left behind, a type of galaxy jumping portal situation, kind of like, think the gates of Babylon 5, some of the work, Farcaster portals like from Dan Simmons. I do believe I read in an interview of Mr. Bruno that the germ of the idea kind of came from his dad when he shared Frederick Poole's Gateways with him as a young boy, and it kind of stuck. So it's that type of world. It's an entire conglomeration of planets that are attached by these gates that an advanced civilization has left behind. And each world is vastly different. And where most of this takes place is that's an advanced civilization left that behind. Now, what's running it now is kind of, it really has this capitalist feel of, we're over one world, Teox, and there's a satellite that's revolving around that, and everything is run through. Teox is a think about one huge archaeological dig of this advanced society's goodies that have been left behind, and people are going to go down from this satellite that's revolving around Teox down, and they're going to dig around and see what they can find, and then they're going to take it back and they're going to cash it in. It has definitely a feel of working for the company store. It has a feel of like an overbearing empire that basically runs through capitalism. It keeps its people working. It keeps them running on that wheel to get the next thing. And this is the main world where this story begins, and that satellite, a lot of it takes from. So the other worlds that are attached through these portals or these gate technology are extremely varied, gorgeous, beautiful. So not only did Mr. Bruno create one world and one socio-political system that has stepped into this leftover technology to run it in like this corporate company store situation mentality, and the people somewhat oppressed on this wheel, ever trying to get to the next step of what they need to survive. He not only created that, but he created all these other worlds and all these other civilizations and all these other beings, to the point where, and again, luckily, what a fine artist he is, visually, he gives us different type of glossary with pictures of all the different beings. He gives us a character drawings to start each chapter with. He gives us a main cast drawing at the end. It just added so much to see something from his mind on the pages. And I just love that he was able to, through self-publishing, put more of himself into this project. If he wanted to do art, he could do art because he was the art director and overall boss. So it was just really another enormous touch that self-publishing brings to these artists, because they're able to be the boss of the entire package and what you get in your hands to them to relay the story to you. So a vast world, an actual galaxy, a civilization that has gone. Where have they gone? Why did they go? Why did they leave these ruins behind? What happened to them? A consortium that's now running this gate technology and keeping people oppressed. All of this thing is vastly rich, vastly varied, all the way realized, and I have to give world building for Down Below Beyond an absolute full star. I thought it was one of its highest strengths. And this book does take place in a universe where this gate technology factors in, and I think it's more of a serious tone, Mr. Bruno said. And I think the name of that first book is In the Orbit of Stars. I'm not exactly sure, but I think my whiz-bang editor will be able to put it right down here, the first book of that initial trilogy that this takes place in the universe of, because I will most absolutely assuredly be looking into that first trilogy because this has stoked my interest so much. Let's move on to plot. So as I said, in the world building, you have this consortium in the satellite revolving around Teox. One of our archaeologists / salvagers that's going down there to see what he can find is Lavort. And I'm looking up this because it's a sci-fi name. Lavort Atra. And he goes down, he sees what he can find, he sees if he's sifting through the ruins and rubble, and he goes down with his best friend Befo Nial, and they go down and they see what they can find, and they take it back up and see what they can get for it to keep going from day to day, right? So he stumbles onto this find. It is an entire ship, the likes of which he has never seen, the technology that is not familiar to him. And it's like, so he doesn't have a chance to really go through all this, so he grabs his trusty best friend bodyguard that's watching his back while he's looking for these goodies on the planet of Teox. They shoot back up there, and they stake a claim, which means no one else can touch that. It's my claim. Now, this is risky because I'm extending myself financially to stake this claim, and if it doesn't work out, that wheel I'm on of trying to get enough to keep going day to day could probably just roll right over and crush me. So this is a gamble. It raises the stakes right away, but he's almost positive, I guess, there's an entire ship that no one knows about, kind of buried under the rubble down there. And he goes back the very next day for his claim, and it is gone. It is not there. So this throws him into a mystery of the universe that we are in, of who built that ship? What was the civilization that was on Teox? Where did this technology come from? Where did they go to? And it leads him, and I'm gonna give just a little bit of a spoilery thing. It leads him to an artifact that actually can throw his own portal. It's like a portal gun. For any of us gamers out there that have played the amazing, wonderful Portal games, think about that. But this can actually throw your portal from here to another planet entirely. So he stumbles onto this bit of technology by a character that lets him know a little bit, the smallest glimmer of what's going on, and then sends him on his path, his adventure to find out the rest. And find out where this civilization went, and maybe chase after him himself on this grand adventure. And so this amazing artifact, this portal gun that he has, and so one spoiler I'll do, guys, there is a portal gun, and it is awesome. So from there, he starts galaxy, planet hopping from thing to try and solve the mystery of this initial civilization, where they went. Is there a better way to live than just day to day trying to sift through the rubble of this past civilization to scrape up enough dollars to make it to the next day? This oppressive capitalist reality that he is living under. Maybe there's another broader spiritual way to live or something different, and he goes on that journey. As he goes on that journey, his bodyguard goes a different way. His bodyguard is warned by the powers that be in that satellite, the rulers of this capitalist society that they're all in, that he's being led down a primrose path. These are terrorists, these people. We have kept this all secret of what that ancient civilization was for a reason. We make you bring up these artifacts to us so we can lock away the dangerous ones that could lead you down this path, because these are terrorists that almost destroyed it all. And he is being led down this path by these terrorists, and he could actually bring all of this down and destroy it. And you have to stop us. We're going to start to pay you off a little bit more. This realization that they're in this society that just, we go from one strata of earning to another, and that is what people strive for. And the bodyguard, Bifo Nial, gets stuck into that, and he goes a different way as opposed to where Lavort is going. Lavort starts going from planet to planet, and I absolutely love some of the themes here as Bifo Nial buys all in on what the powers that be that he's so familiar with tell him, and he buys into that. We have the theme of propaganda. What do you believe? How true is it? How you should question authority. Found family. Can propaganda schism an actual family bond? These people have been together since children when their own families abandoned them in one way or another. So many of these characters, these two main characters and the other characters that Lavort finds galaxy hopping, are broken individuals dealing with rebuilding themselves, as well as these two main characters, Bifo and Lavort. Now, they go different ways as they're rebuilding themselves, but it's all about what you believe and how insidious propaganda can be to take that family bond that these two best friends have after they've lost their own families and bonded together, knit themselves together, gone through life together. That propaganda, one can go one way, one can go the other way, and it can schism. It's so topical for some of what we're living through today in our everyday life, and I absolutely appreciate that to the fullest of that social mirror that genres like this can hold up for us. So it has that. It has the dangers of a capitalist society, that theme of, are you on that wheel? Are you not seeing anything else? It has the theme of, as Lavort goes from planet to planet to try to find clues to unlock this mystery of what happened before, and maybe there's a different way of living, he starts to realize and find out the only way to unlock that mystery is to cooperate with vastly different beings. And I'm talking about vastly different beings, complete different cultures and civilizations and beings in the alien sense, right? Not just socioeconomic strata, but as he starts to learn that they have to cooperate and come together and build something together to achieve something greater than the reality he knows, that theme of cooperation, that theme of we're stronger for our disparate ideas and our differences as opposed to being kept apart to keep a status quo. So many important themes going on here. And all not didactic, not preachy, all within a wonderfully gleeful, fun space, galaxy, planet hopping romp. He walks the tone line just perfectly. There's plenty to chew on if you are looking for that. If you're just looking for a grand adventure, maybe you're a bit of a younger reader just starting out in the genre, he's got you covered too, because this is just a great fun romp. Now, as I was reading, I will say, I thought, ooh, I think I might have to take a little bit off for plot because it's one of those stories where our world is set up and it's amazing. Our journey is set up for our heroes and the themes are playing out. But as a reader, I think I know where this is going. This is only going to go one direction. This can only end up one way. It's too much of a gleeful, fun tone for everything to end in that grim, dark way. So I think there's only one way to go. And Mr. Bruno somehow subverted that for me. It goes an entirely beautiful, amazing, thought-provoking way by the end, as opposed to what I thought it's got to play out this way. So I love that subversion. I love the ending that came at me because I was not expecting it and I was still entirely satisfied. So all the while thinking, I think I might have to take a little bit off for plot because he's made his path through the garden and it's only one way to walk through to the gate and the end of this. And what he did, it took a turn and went somewhere entirely different, but completely satisfying. So plot as well. I have to give this an absolute full star. I just thought it was a wonderful story. I don't know if he has any type of agency at DreamWorks to create worlds and stories for them or just pre-visualize other creators' creations, but they are missing a gold mine at DreamWorks if they are not tapping Mr. Bruno on the shoulder and saying, hey, maybe you should come up with our next huge, massive hit. This smacks of that. So let's move to characters. Characters, as I've shown you a couple times from these drawings that Mr. Bruno so wonderfully includes, vastly varied, all different worlds, all different types, and I mean the alien. We've got insectoid, we've got just floating balloon type, we've got feline type, we have aquatic type, we have everything that you can imagine that you love about this genre because it makes you look at beings in a different way and civilization and cultures in a different way. It's packed in there. There is no shortage of it. And it all revolves around our two main characters of Befo Nial and Lavort Atra. And their two ways, as I described in the plot, of going these different paths, what they're deciding to believe, what they feel is the best for their reality and how they can support that and save it. So absolutely, I loved the differentiation of the characters. I loved Lavort's path through this plot of every character he met was in some way or going through something that made them just sometimes more than just a tad, but at least just a tad, and sometimes vastly more than a tad broken, and they have to come together and form that found family that is so important in this genre, and that is just played out so beautifully here. The only thing I will say regarding characters, now not so much between our two mains that we do follow down this path of Lavort and Bifo, but all the other characters, even though they are very different, as I've shown before, there is somewhat of a sameness to them as far as dialogue goes, as far as hopes and desires culturally. They all seem to kind of come in at the same wavelength. Now, I understand that's very important for the theme playing out here, that the more different we are, maybe the more alike we are. And if we come together and cooperate, we can achieve this, and I don't want to ruin too much. So I totally get that, but I do think it could have even been more powerful if we could have delved deeper into the differences of not only how these different species and cultures and beings, how they looked, but also what they thought culturally and what they were ideologically and how they have to overcome that to come together. And there was bits of that. There are bits of that here and there, but I did think it could have gone further. I did think some of the characters, there did seem to be a bit of sameness for me in the dialogue and their hopes, dreams, and desires. So I am just going to take a quarter off for characters. I'm going to give it 3/4 stars. But now this is an amazing, varied cast and characters from wide-ranging worlds like you would not believe. And I'm just going to give it a quarter off, just a quarter off, because I think that could be coming for Mr. Bruno in the future to delve those differences even deeper. So let's go with pace. This does move pretty lickety-split. It did slow down a bit for me. There is something that happens, and I don't want to give too much away. There kind of something happens in the middle, and then we start to build up momentum again after that. And for me, it slowed down just an ooch in the middle. So I will take a quarter off for pace. The rest of the time, I was just, particularly when you start to get to the end and that ending that I thought was coming was subverted, I could not turn the pages fast enough. So just a quarter off on pace because it did slow down for me just a little bit. And that just leaves us with the pros of Mr. Bruno. Now, I do think he is quite a wordsmith. I do think he is on a wonderful artist journey and a wonderful artist path, not only in the visual medium, as he's quite gorgeously adept, as I've said before, but expanding his platforms and mediums going into words. I do think he's on a great path. He would not be able to excite me as much. He would not be able to make worlds that I feel are completely realized, characters that I want to follow, and plots that absolutely subvert my expectations if he was not. He is a grand storyteller. Where I will say, I myself, as a reader, that maybe I could give some feedback to maybe take it to heart and work on a thing here or there. There was a few times in the beginning for me that as a visual artist, he couldn't rely on visual cues for a time cut. So it would be something like our two main characters, Beifo and Atra, hit the surface area of Teox to start sifting around for things. And it's like, Beifo is kind of tired. He wants to go over here and rest. And it's like, well, we got hours to go. I'm going to go poke around over here for a while. And as Atra moves over here to poke around, he wool gathers for maybe a page or a half a page or a three-quarter page, and then it's time to find Beifo and go back up. But it's like, wait a minute, I thought you just said hours. There was not a delineation of time for me, or a hard enough time cut for me there that time had passed for me not to be pulled out of the book and go, oh, I thought we had a lot more time here. So that did pull me out of the book. Now, as the book went on, that problem tended to solve itself. But we didn't have a visual cue for time cuts. We have to have that in either some way play out in prose. So that was one thing I noticed. The other thing I noticed in prose, the action scene, sometimes I would have to go back and read over an ooch to track it where it went. All of these different worlds we went to, they are described and they are gorgeous, and I love them all. I thought that was absolutely, world building was one of the strengths of the book, so much so that I wanted to spend more time and go deeper. I wanted the prose to give me the smells, not just the sights, the feelings, a world that does nothing but have like these Yellowstone geysers going off. I wanted the spray. I wanted to know what the spray felt like. I wanted to know where the smells. I wanted to know the sponginess of the ground underneath or not. I wanted to know the gravity changes from one to the other. I wanted to delve deeper into all these descriptive things that prose can do when you really start to amp up that ability as a wordsmith. And I thought he could have gone a bit further than that. I thought everything was described in the visual, and I could absolutely picture it, but I would have even loved to go deeper because I was enjoying this universe and this world so much. As far as wordsmithing goes, I do think as he grows as a writer, he will become more adept at some provocative word choice, some poetic choices, as opposed to just going with a straightaway storyteller style. And I do think some of the themes and vistas he's describing could have absolutely benefited from that type of poetic description. But again, as an artist path, moving from one medium that he's incredibly adept at to another, is this an amazing start? 100% absolutely. It's almost not fair for him to be able to tell a story this well in a medium that is not where he's trained at for years and years and years, probably. And I'm guessing there. Maybe he has, but I'm guessing. And for him to be able to tell a story with thematically that varied and that involved and that profound and that different, and to build a world that varied over an entire universe. I am excited by this storyteller because I think he has something that's very important from his visual work to sift down into his word work. And as he continues on that path, I absolutely want to continue with him. So where do I come in prose? I'm going to give Mr. Bruno a half star, just for a few little nitpicky things where I think he's on his journey as an artist, as a wordsmith. I am giving him a half star, but where he is hitting on all cylinders, oh, he is hitting on all cylinders. So let's add all that together, and what do we have? We have a 4-star book in Down Below Beyond. And what do I say about 4 stars? 4 stars is I've got to have a shelf copy. This could be on my favorites list. I've got to have this on my shelf to go back to and to add to as this author moves on, or to go back and get this author's first trilogy, which I 100% will be doing because I see the possibilities of this universe are just not ending. They're just filled with story that I want to be a part of. So, you know, 4 and above, moving into that 5, that's something that I think will, again, stand the test of time and be around on people's shelves long after that we have moved on to dusty death. So, a 4-star book, guys. My eyes have been so fully opened by making this move and moving into self-pub and doing at least one, and I tend to do 2 a month because it just pulls me. These artists that are working out there and their own boss and the package they're putting together to give to you to tell a story, I just find it moving and profound. And Mr. Bruno's work should absolutely be on your TBR if you enjoy sci-fi or fun romp, adventure, world hopping at all with some profound thematic things working its way through there. If you're looking for them, this should absolutely work its way to the top of your TBR. So that's it. That's what we have for Down Below Beyond. This has been Talking Story. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me again. It means the world for me. If you have read this, if you have not read this and I have maybe moved you to read it, give me a comment. Let me know. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know what I should read. It's a two-way street. Comments make my absolute day. I love them. I answer them as quickly as I can. So hit me up with comments. Like, subscribe if you like what we do here and you want to come back and hang out with me again. It is the most fun to talk about books for me, and I'm not going to stop anytime soon, so I hope you keep coming around. Thank you so much for hearing my review of Down Below Beyond. Like I say, you don't have to pick up Down Below Beyond, but please do pick up and read something. Thank you. My name is John Minton. This has been Talking Story, and we will see you again.